But all right, we are moving into our final section of our show today, guys. It is called, it is our Christianity section, and we like to call it here the Spotlight. Whenever we have a guest in like Big C, we like to provide them an opportunity to share with us their testimony. Tell us a little bit about like how they came to know God, you know, how they came into their faith and made it their own, as well as how they got into streaming and what they're doing here now. Everybody that we've ever had on the show as a guest is a streamer on either Twitch or some other platform. Big C has been on Twitch. I think I've known you now for almost a year. I want to say, right? You've been streaming. I think at least you've been streaming maybe longer than that.
It's been over a year. I've been streaming, but I don't. As far as us knowing one another, my concept of time's terrible too. So
yeah,
it could have been a year, and I don't even know how long we've known each other.
Yeah. So Big C, I think this is well overdue. Welcome to our Spotlight section. It is all you, my friend. Take it away. Wherever you would like to start in your testimony, go.
Thank you, and thank you for having me on. Super excited and surprised. So my testimony, I was young, and I'll start from the beginning. I was 16 years old when I lost my mother in a car wreck. I was a driver. I came back from weightlifting, and we had to go to another town to get tires for one of the vehicles for one of it. We had two small businesses at the time, so it was for one of them, a wholesale business. And a buddy was going to go with me. We both played football, and I'd asked him if he wanted to go, so I wouldn't have to drive by myself. It wasn't that far away. He's like, yeah. And as we was going that way, my mother was at the mouth of the holler, and was like, oh, I want to go instead. And our relationship had kind of turned rocky. She quit smoking, and she had back pain, and you know, and I was a mama's boy growing up, so our relationship took a toll as I got older. And she had, you know, those issues where she couldn't help the change that it impacted on her. And so we did a lot of arguing and stuff, but she wanted to go, and I was like, well, it's fine. So my dad took my buddy home, and she went with me. And it was one of the days where we was actually having really good conversation. And we was laughing and smiling like we always did. And started to rain all of a sudden, and it just sheets of rain, just downpour, and I slowed down with traffic. I was behind vehicles. I had no choice to slow down, even if I didn't want to. And I come through a curve, and I hydroplaned, and I lost control of the vehicle. And I can distinctly remember my mother reaching over and grabbing the steering wheel, trying to help me regain control. And I hydroplaned into a small school bus. We hit driver's side to driver's side. I didn't have my seatbelt on, and it slung me out of the vehicle. She had her seatbelt on, so the impact hit her. She was still in the vehicle. I can vaguely remember being thrown out of the vehicle, but it's beyond blurry. But I do remember coming to, and I'm laying on the ground, and I had a sleeveless shirt on, and it was pretty much done. It's pouring the rain, it's cold, and I'm laying there, and I know I'm hurt. My head hurts, my wrist hurts, and I hurt all over. But I knew I was okay because it didn't hurt me to breathe and stuff. I tried to get up, but because of the head injury I had, I just couldn't. But I knew that it wasn't like terrible. And every person that came to me, you know, I was like, go check on my mom. That was my concern. Because she wasn't out of the vehicle. She wasn't by my side. And, you know, finally get loaded into the ambulance, get to the hospital. I found out that night my mother passed away. And, you know, it's awful. Miss her to this day. And it's really what helped me get led to the Lord. She passed away after my birthday. I turned 16 in April. I hadn't been 16 for long. And it was around September. And during that period of time, I did a lot of stupid things. Well, it'd been a little bit over a year, but it was around September. I did a lot of stupid things. I didn't live life right. I was searching, obviously, but you know, I was partying and drinking and doing everything else. And I remember I came in from, it was weightlifting or some sort of conditioning, for basketball, and turns a little bit more lighthearted here, a little bit more goofy. And I remember, you know, gorgeous girl comes in. Here I am, all sweaty, nasty, whatnot. It's funny because I still remember what she bought. She bought a loaf of bread. And my cousin comes in shortly after her, and I'm like, my goodness, you know who that? I'd never seen her before. She's like, yeah, she's going to go to Tulsa this year. It's the high school I went to. And I was like, really? And it's like, do you know her? She's like, yeah, she goes to church over at Silver Creek. That's the church I belong to. I was like, yeah, that sounds awesome. I said, can you introduce me to her somehow? And she's like, yeah, I can introduce you to her. You need to come to church. Come to church and I'll introduce you to. So essentially, God knows I love women. Maybe that way. And that's how I got into church. I started going to church to see her. We started dating, and anytime I was in church, I was always told to be respectful. When I was younger, when I was little, you went there in Easter and Christmas and stuff because you got a gift, yada, yada, yada. You know, I was a gritty little kid, I won't lie. And, which I was spoiled rotten too. I was raised that way. And, so when church was going on, I went and talked to her. She would kind of get mad at me, but when the preacher was preaching, it was time to listen to him because it was a respectful thing to do. I was just taught that way. You know, he spends time getting this message together. I don't know what and all entailed at the time to get a message together then, but you need to be respectful and listen to what he has to say. And as I dated her, I got more involved. I was going to youth group, Bible study. I didn't go to Sunday school. I just never liked Sunday school. I don't know why. I just don't. So even to this day, I still don't go to Sunday school. It just, I don't know why. I just don't like it. It's just not my thing. And I remember, it was during youth group and it was during altar call. And, you know, my friends have been bugging me to get saved. And, you know, I had one, he would just look at me. He's like, you know, if you don't get saved, Curtis, you're just going to go to hell. I was like, you're right. He just would flat out say it to me, but I have the personality. You can flat out say stuff like that to me too. And my feelings doesn't hurt. I'm not going to, you know, like, oh, I'm done with church. I'm not going back because they told me I was going to burn in hell. I'm not one of those people, even though it's the truth. But, you know, and I remember one night I was sitting there and I just looked up and I just seen my mom reaching down with her hand, big bright light, dressed in white. And it's like, all right, you know, it's time for me to go and give my life to the Lord. And that's, you know, that's essentially how I got into church. And, you know, I knew when my mother passed away, she had started going back to church too. She was a Christian before and she'd started going back, and always had that comfort that, you know, before she passed away, she got her life right with the Lord. And, you know, when I just sitting there in church and I just looked up, you know, my eyes wide open, and there was that image that the Lord sent me. And I didn't scream and holler and run and like, praise the Lord. I did cry every step to the altar. And, you know, I gave my life to the Lord then, and, you know, I was 17. It was in September on the 29th, and I'm 36 now.